Alright, so welcome back to our investor series. Last week, if you have watched our episode, we actually had an episode called Don't Buy Woodleigh Residences Before You Watch This series. We actually share very in-depth in a 16-minute video on what are the key things that you need to know about Woodleigh Residences and why we think is one of the very key project launches in 2019 and 2020. Alright, so today we're going to talk about integrated developments and also what are the key things and what's so unique about them. And next week, we're going to share with you about Sengkang Grand Residences. Alright, let's go.
Wealth management and
Monthly installment at 1.88%.
how to select the right country to buy.
1 km. It's 1 km.
Yeah, let me check.
Alright, so what are integrated developments? In the past, there are actually this type of developments called mixed-use development. So mixed development is actually a residential component plus a commercial component at the bottom. So usually it's about 1 to 2 or even 3 levels of shopping amenities, and then on top is actually the residential project. So combined together, they are called mixed developments. Alright, so in the recent decade, there's this development that has evolved and it is called integrated development. So integrated development is actually a mixed development that has a direct access to the MRT station or the bus interchange plus a lot of other amenities. In recent years, you see mega project having the residential component, a huge mall downstairs with direct access to the MRT station, bus interchange, and then there are things like childcare, community centers, police stations, medical facilities as well. So a lot of different kinds of amenities that are all packed into one. So recent years, there's also integration of hawker centers right into integrated developments as well. And we think actually is a fantastic development concept because there's just so many plus points about integrated developments. Today we're going to talk a little bit about integration. Let's dive into what are some of the integrated developments right here in Singapore. So actually, if we were to pull back the data since year 2007, there's only about 9 integrated projects that has been launched in Singapore. And the very first one in 2007 is actually the Orchard Residences. And then year 2011, we see Bedok Residences that's integrated with Bedok Mall and the Bedok MRT station. And then we have like Watertown, Heelan Residences, followed by Warwick Residences. Warwick Residences, if you take the lift straight to basement 2, there's like a walkway and then you open up the door and then right there is the MRT stations. Marina 1 Residences, and also in recent years North Park Residences that is linked to North Point City Mall, the very huge mall in Yishun, plus Park Place Residences, and of course in today's context the latest launch is actually Woodleigh Residences plus Sengkang Grand Residences, bringing in total the number to 10 since 2007. We think actually in terms of the integration is already evolved. The latest developments, we see a lot of things being packed into the whole integration as well, and actually it is a very incredible kind of concept because there's a lot of plus points to the residents that's staying on top of the integrated malls. So before we dive into what are some of the key plus points that we think are very beneficial for residents, I think the supply is one thing that has shown on data that is actually quite limited, because in total there's only about close to less than 3% of the non-landed residential project in terms of the housing dwelling units that actually belong to the integrated development. So in total, there's like less than 6,500 units available since 2007 out of these 10 projects that we just mentioned, compared to overall about 350,000 residential units in the current and the upcoming pipeline in terms of supply. So close to about 3%, that's very little. The spread is actually having 5 of them in the suburban OCR area, and then with the other 5 in the CCR and the RCR area, which is what we call the core central area plus the city fringe rest of central region area. Supply is definitely very limited. Usually because of the way that it's being integrated, the developers are unable to build a whole lot of units. So the size range from probably like 100 odd units to 400, 500, 600 units. The largest one being Marina 1 Residences, which has 1,042 units. So on average, it's usually about 500 to 700 units per integrated project. In terms of choices, after they segregated it into 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, the bedroom type that you want probably will be even more limited. I think personally this attracts a lot of audience from different kinds of profiles. So for example, if let's say a young couple buys a project at an integration development, usually they might be looking for superb convenience without having to buy a car because the MRT is right downstairs. When they travel to CB to work, coming back home, they can just head downstairs for food, go to the supermarket, shop, then come upstairs. When this young couple, in a couple of years time, when they have children, they can just bring their kids downstairs to the childcare amenities. Usually in shopping malls, there are childcare centers, and then followed by heading off to work without actually needing a car, or they can just take a bus for the bus interchange. And then similarly, coming back home is very easy for young families to cater to their everyday needs. So in terms of like meeting up with your friends, you can also meet downstairs in the F&B outlet. Even for families who have children in the teenage years, so your kids probably are in the secondary school, JC, polytechnic, or even university, it's also very convenient for your kids to travel to school, meet their friends, do projects at the mall, Starbucks and stuff like that. So there is a lot of holistic integration in terms of a lifestyle need of most people that are staying in the integration developments. Even for elderlies who are planning to retire, probably they don't need a car anymore, they just want to stay somewhere where they have everything that suits their needs. And then recently, like Woodley, what we mentioned in the last episode last week, is that they even have a medical zone on one of the level of the mall. There's also like community centers right now, so elderlies can just come downstairs, mingle with other elderlies as well for community activities, or even like Tai Chi and stuff like that, or even exercise and stuff. And now with the added on bonus of a hawker center, you have actually a good blend of restaurant foods in the F&B outlets in the mall, plus very affordable local food in the hawker center. So we think that it caters for young couples, young families, families with teenage kids, families who are planning to retire, caters for all types of audience in Singapore, and we think it's actually a great option. So of course, some of the downside of an integrated development is that some people might be a bit concerned with the crowd that will be packed into the mall during the weekends. I think that's inevitable because most integrated developments are the center pillar of the estate or of the housing area, because they are just right beside the MRT station or right on top of the MRT station with the bus interchange. You're going to have a lot of traffic coming home every day from work, coming on in the weekends. You have a lot of traffic in the morning when they want to head on to work as well. There is going to be a lot of people that is moving around in the mall. Of course, some people are also worried about the traffic. If they do drive, heading home, would there be a long queue at the road and stuff like that? So these are just probably some concerns that people might have, but inevitably, because you are staying right at the center of the township, this is something that you have to trade off. So there's no perfection in all projects in Singapore. There's pros and cons. Of course, if you want an extremely quiet and private development, then likelihood it has to be away from all the very central transportation needs, MRT station and stuff like that, to be in a more private environment. So there's actually a trade-off in different kinds of developments right here in Singapore. It really depends on your needs, on your family, and on your own individual preference as well. So let's have a look at some of the projects that has been launched in the recent years. If we were to look at the price point, usually integrated developments are launched at a certain price benchmark, because from the price that the developer actually bidded for the land, plus all these different kinds of construction costs, the margin that the developer will definitely have to factor in terms of their profit margin by developing this project for consumers. So usually, based on the past record, based on the land bid price to the launch price, there's always a certain kind of benchmark that integrated developments have commanded. But based on the last few projects that has been launched, it has actually surprisingly performed very well from the date of launch up to the completion date when it's being available by the first-time owners selling into resale markets. Importantly, I think if you were to buy an integrated development, usually if let's say the price point is a little bit higher, then you have to gauge for yourself by staying here, saving up all your time, all your transportation costs. If you don't drive, does it make a huge difference to you staying in a project probably at a lesser per square foot but is further away from all these amenities itself? So I think you can do a trade-off gauge from there. Look at our previous episodes on our comments on what a checklist when you select a new launch development. We hope that this episode shed some light for you. Hope to see you soon. Cheers. Alright, so for more information on investing in new developments, do head out to our website at PropertyLimBrothers.com, and as well as our YouTube channel under Investor Series, and we will see you soon.